I want you to imagine something. Imagine you are pregnant, 8 weeks along. You have not told anyone yet, not your mother, not your best friend, not a single soul, because you are scared. Because the last time did not end well. So you and your husband agree together to wait. Wait until it is safe. Wait until the danger zone passes. Wait until you can breathe again. You trust him completely. He is your husband. He is the father of your child. He held your hand through the loss before. He cried with you. He told you he would never let anything hurt you again. You believe him. Now imagine 6 days after you tell him about this pregnancy, you are at the grocery store. And your phone rings. It is your mother-in-law. You answer smiling because you like her. You have always liked her, and she says, "Oh, sweetheart, I just heard. I am so sorry about the miscarriage." Hey, the world tilts. You are standing in the cereal aisle holding a box of oatmeal, and the world tilts. You say, "I'm sorry, what?" And she says it again, "The miscarriage, honey. David told us last night at dinner." We are all just heartbroken for you both, David. Your husband told his entire family that you miscarried, like a baby that is still very much Ray live. My name is Rachel. I am Sensor E years old. Now, and what I am about to tell you is the most devastating, humiliating, and ultimately liberating thing that has ever happened to me. Yeah, stay with me, because this story does not end the way my husband expected, not even close. Let me take you back to the beginning, because you need to understand who David was, or rather, who I believe David was, before you can understand how completely blindsided I was. I met David when I was Arthur C. years old. He was, Arthur T., tall, funny, the kind of person who remembered everyone's name and made every room feel warmer just by being in it. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party. He spent the entire night talking to my grandfather, who nobody else was paying attention to, asking him about his life, his stories, his memories. I watched this from across the room and thought, this is a good man. We dated for 2 years. He was attentive, he was thoughtful. On our 8-month anniversary, he drove 4 hours to bring me soup when I had the flu because he said he couldn't stand the thought of me being sick and alone. My friends loved him, my parents loved him. My grandmother, who trusted nobody, pulled me aside at Christmas and whispered, "Keep this one." We got married when I was Arthur Loop. It was a small wedding, 40 people, his family and mine, in a little venue with string lights and wildflowers and dancing until midnight. I remember thinking, standing there looking at him, I am the luckiest person in this room. His family welcomed me completely. His mother, Margaret, became someone I genuinely loved. We would have coffee together on Saturday mornings when David played golf. She told me stories about David as a little boy that made me love him even more. His father, Gerald, was quiet but kind, the type of man who showed love through action, not words. His sister, Brenda, was loud and hilarious and became one of my closest friends. His brother, Tom, and his wife, Kelly, were warm and inclusive, and Dot always made me feel like I had been part of this family forever. I did not just marry David, I married all of them, and I was grateful. Every single day, I was grateful. The first pregnancy happened 14 months into our marriage, and we were not officially, but we were not preventing either. We were in that happy, hopeful middle ground where you talk about baby names sometimes and smile when you see other people's children. When I saw those 2 lines on the test, I sat on the bathroom floor and cried happy tears for 20 minutes. David came home from work to find me still sitting there. He read the test. He picked me up off the floor and held me so tightly I could barely breathe. "We're going to be parents," he whispered into my hair. "We told no one." We agreed to wait until the 12-week scan. We did not make it to 12 weeks. At 9 weeks, I started bleeding. The next 48 hours were the worst of my life. The hospital. The scan, the doctor's face, the words, "I'm so sorry, there is no heartbeat." David held my hand through all of it. He took 2 weeks off work. He stayed beside me. He let me cry and did not try to fix it or rush. Dot me through it or tell me to look on the bright side. He was, during those weeks, everything I needed. We grieved together. And then slowly, painfully, we rebuilt. 14 months after the miscarriage, I got pregnant again. I found out on a Thursday morning. I sat with it alone for a full day, not because I was keeping it from David, but because I needed a moment to feel it privately before it became something shared. The hope and the terror mixing together in a way that is impossible to describe unless you have lost a pregnancy before. If you have, you know exactly what I mean. That specific kind of hope that comes wrapped in fear, that joy that you cannot fully feel because you are already bracing yourself. I told David that evening. He went very still when I showed him the test. Then he smiled, slowly, carefully, like he was afraid to smile too big. "Okay," he said softly. "Okay, we're doing this again." We held each other for a long time, and then we made a rule, together, both of us. A mutual agreement, no one finds out until 12 weeks. Not our parents, not our siblings, not our best friends, no one. Because if something went wrong again, and we prayed it wouldn't, God, we prayed, we needed to be able to go through it privately, without the weight of everyone else's grief on top of our own. David agreed completely. "Absolutely," he said. "This is between us, no one else. I trusted him. He was my husband. Why would I not trust him?" The following days were careful and quiet. I had my first appointment booked for week 10. I was taking my vitamins. I was being careful, and David was, on the surface, completely normal. He was attentive. He asked how I was feeling each morning. He quietly stopped buying wine for the house without making a big deal of it. He downloaded a pregnancy app on his phone. He seemed present. He seemed trustworthy. What I did not know, what I had absolutely no way of knowing, was that 6 days after I told him about our pregnancy, David went to Sunday dinner at his parents' house. Without me. I had stayed home. I was tired, slightly nauseous, the usual early pregnancy exhaustion. And at that dinner table, in front of his mother, his father, his sister, his brother, and his sister-in-law, David told them I had miscarried. He did not tell them I was pregnant. He told them I had been pregnant and that we had lost the baby again. He described it, according to what I later pieced together from multiple family members, in detail. The bleeding, the hospital visit, my devastation, how hard it had been on both of us, he cried. My husband sat at his parents' dinner table and cried about a miscarriage that did not happen. The family rallied around him. Margaret held him. Gerald gripped his shoulder. Brenda sobbed. Tom and Kelly were horrified and sympathetic. They all felt terrible for him. But not for me. I wasn't even there. For him. And then the gifts started arriving. The first one came 2 days later, a card in the mailbox addressed to David. I almost didn't open it. It had his name on it, not mine. But it was from Margaret, and I could feel something inside the envelope, so I opened it. It was a sympathy card, pink roses on the front, a printed verse inside about angels too small for this earth, and a check, $500, made out to David, I stood at the mailbox reading that card 3 times. I did not understand. I went inside and called Margaret immediately, and that is when she said those words. "Oh, sweetheart, I just heard. I am so sorry about the miscarriage." My blood went cold. I told her, very carefully, keeping my voice completely steady, that I had to call her back. I hung up. I sat down on the kitchen floor and I thought, what has he done? I did not call David immediately. And this is important because my first instinct was to call him screaming, to demand an explanation, to fall apart completely. But something stopped me. Some quiet, cold, clear part of my brain said, wait, find out everything first. And so I waited. I called Brenda, casually, like nothing was wrong. Hey, just checking in. Haven't heard from you in a few days. And Brenda was warm and sad and immediately said, "Oh, Rachel, I have been thinking about you so much." "I'm so sorry, honey." David told us everything. I kept my voice light. "Oh, yeah, it's been hard." "What exactly did he tell you?" She told me everything. The detail David had used, the timeline he had described, the way he had cried, the way the whole family had surrounded him. I got off the phone. I called Kelly next. Same story. I found out that within sisterbed hours of that Sunday dinner, David had also received, quote, Margaret's wubback check, kink, a standby cash envelope from Gerald, because Gerald did not trust banks and always gave cash, ink, a grocery delivery from Brenda, e-bite batters worth of food, a meal train organized by Kelly, 7 families from the extended circle signed up to bring dinners, Hank, a card from Tom with a Urbit gift card inside, Hank. In less than 1 week, my husband had collected over Ubertine cash and gifts, plus 7 home-cooked meals, plus an outpouring of sympathy, attention, and emotional support for a loss that existed only in his imagination. While I, the actual pregnant woman, sat at home eating crackers and ginger tea and wondering why he seemed so relaxed lately. I need you to understand something. This was not a moment of panic where he said something stupid and it spiraled. This was planned. He chose a night when I was not there. He had a story ready. He accepted gifts. He accepted money. He let his mother write a check. He let his father give cash. He let his sister organize a meal train. This was not a mistake. This was a decision. And I had to decide what to do about it. David came home that evening, completely normal. He kissed my cheek. He asked how I was feeling. He brought home my favorite soup from the deli down the street. He sat across from me at the dinner table and talked about his day. And I sat there, looking at this man I had married, this man I was carrying a child for, and I smiled and nodded and said, "That sounds like a long day. Are you okay?" I did not confront him, not yet. I needed a plan. Because here's the thing about discovering something like this. If you react immediately, in the heat of the moment, you lose control of the narrative. Okay, he would apologize. He would explain. He would cry. God, he was good at crying. I now knew that for certain. And he would make it about his feelings and his panic and his fear. And somehow, by the end of it, I would be comforting him. I had seen him do it before. Not with something this enormous, but in smaller arguments. He had a gift for turning things around, for making himself the one who needed comforting. Okay. I was not going to let that happen this time, so I waited and I watched. The week that followed was the strangest week of my life. Meals kept arriving at our door. David would answer. He would thank the neighbor or the cousin or the family friend warmly. He would bring the food inside. Sometimes he would say to me, "Mom's friend Janet dropped off a lasagna." Kenk? As if it were the most normal thing in the world, as if I did not know exactly why Janet had made that lasagna. I smiled and said, "Thank you every time, Ken." Inside I was shaking. I also, quietly, carefully, started documenting everything. I took photos of every card, every check, every gift, every meal. I wrote down every conversation I had with family members where they referenced what David had told them. I noted dates, times, amounts. I was building something. I did not know exactly what yet, but I was building it. On day 4, something happened that made my decision final. Okay? I was in the bedroom when David's phone buzzed on the nightstand. He was in the shower. I do not make a habit of looking at my husband's phone, but the message previewed on screen before I could look away. It was from his friend Marcus. "Bro, I can't believe what you guys went through. Sending love. Also, the thing we talked about. I got you covered. Check your Venmo." I picked up the phone. I should not have. I know I should not have. I looked at the Venmo notification. Marcus had sent David e-bite Wooders with the note. "For you and Rachel. So sorry, man." I set the phone back down exactly where it had been. I walked to the bathroom door. I stood there for a moment, listening to the shower running, and I thought, Sunday dinner is in 3 days. The whole family will be there. Everyone who gave him money will be there. Everyone who brought food will be there. Everyone who held him while he cried, fake tears will be there. And I will also be there. Paused. I had my plan. Sunday arrived. I woke up that morning and lay in bed for a long time staring at the ceiling. I was 8 weeks and 4 days pregnant. My baby was alive. My husband's family did not know I had a baby. They thought I had lost one. They thought I was grieving. They had given money and food and tears and love for nothing, for a lie. I got up. I showered. I put on a blue dress. David had always said I looked beautiful in blue. I did my makeup carefully. I looked in the mirror for a long time. "You are calm," I told myself. "You are clear. You know exactly what you are doing." David knocked on the bathroom door. "Almost ready?" "We should leave in 20. "Almost," I said. "Just a few more minutes." I heard him walk away. I looked at my reflection one more time. For the baby, I thought. Do this right, for the baby. Bond music continues, tense and slow. We drove to Margaret and Gerald's house in almost complete silence, and David talked. He usually talked on car rides, filled the space with observations and stories and small talk. I gave short answers and looked out the window. "You okay?" he asked at one point. "Just tired," I said. We don't have to stay long," he said. "It's fine," I said. "I want to be there." "Hey?" He patted my knee. I looked out the window. Music billed slightly. The house was full when we arrived. Margaret and Gerald, Brenda and her boyfriend, Tom and Kelly, 2 aunts, an uncle, 3 cousins, the whole family, everyone who had given, everyone who had cried, everyone who had believed. When I walked in, the energy shifted immediately. People hugged me tighter than usual. Margaret held my face in both hands and looked at me with such genuine sorrow that I felt my chest crack a little. "Oh, Rachel," she said softly. "Look at you. You are so strong." I smiled at her. "Thank you, Margaret," I said. Dinner was set for 7 p.m., I had 2 hours. I spent those 2 hours being completely normal. I helped in the kitchen. I laughed at the right moments. I accepted the sympathetic touches on my arm and the sad smiles with quiet grace. David watched me sometimes, a little uncertain, I think. I was performing too well. Some part of him could sense something, but he could not identify it, so he relaxed. That was a mistake. Munja's music becomes very quiet, the calm before the storm. Dinner was called. 14 people around that long table. The food was passed. The conversations overlapped. The wine was poured. Not for me. I quietly put my hand over my glass and said I was. Tea, drinking, and the room was warm with the sound of family. I waited. I let the meal go on. I waited until the plates were mostly empty and the conversations were slowing down, and the room had reached that comfortable, full, relaxed state that happens at the end of a good family meal. Gerald was telling a story about a fishing trip, and when he finished, in the small silence that followed, I picked up my glass of water. I stood up. Music stops completely. Everyone looked at me. David looked at me. I smiled. "I'm sorry to interrupt," I said, "but I have an announcement I'd like to make. Something I want to share with the whole family." Faces smiled expectantly. Margaret leaned forward. David went very still. I looked around the table, at each face one by one, and then I looked at David, directly at David, and I said, "I'm pregnant." Pause. Complete silence. 8 weeks and 4 days. The baby is healthy. The heartbeat is strong. Another pause. I know this is surprising, especially since David told you all 2 weeks ago that I had miscarried. And the silence becomes something different now. Charged, confused, horrified. I didn't miscarry. I am very much pregnant, and I have been pregnant this entire time. I set my water glass down, which means that everything David told you at this table 2 weeks ago, the story, the details, the tears, was a lie. Pause. And the money, and the gifts, and the meals that you also generously gave were given based on that lie. Pause. I thought you all deserved to know the truth. Yeah, I sat down, complete, total, absolute silence. The music that returns is slow and devastated. What followed is very hard to... It was not dramatic in the movie sense. No one flipped the table or threw anything. It was worse than that. It was the silence of 14 people processing something that did not make sense. It was Margaret's face, the color draining out of it as she turned to look at her son. It was Gerald setting down his fork very carefully. It was Brenda, who had sobbed at that dinner 2 weeks ago, pressing her hand over her mouth. It was Tom and Kelly exchanging a look that said everything. And it was David, Kent David, who had gone the color of old paper. Ken David, who was looking at me with an expression I had never seen on his face before. Not guilt. Not remorse, not sorrow, panic, pure, exposed, cornered panic. Rachel, he started. "Not now," I said quietly. "This is a family moment," and then Margaret spoke. In 21 years of knowing that woman, I had never heard her voice sound like that, David. Just his name, one word, and he flinched like she had hit him. What happened next happened fast and also somehow in slow motion at the same time. Gerald asked everyone except immediate family to give them the room. Aunts, uncles, cousins, they filed out quietly. Stunned, whispering, and that left Margaret, Gerald, Brenda, Tom, Kelly, David, and me, 8 people at a table meant for celebration. And Gerald looked at his son. Explain. One word. The same tone Margaret had used. I understood suddenly where David got his ability to make a room feel smaller. David tried. He said he had panicked. He said he was afraid. He said that after the first miscarriage, he had been so terrified of losing this pregnancy too, that he had told the story as a way of... He couldn't even finish the sentence. Okay? As a way of what? Brenda said. Her voice was shaking. As a way of what, David? I don't know, he said. I don't know. I panicked. You panicked for 2 weeks, Tom said flatly. You accepted money. You accepted meals. You let Mom write you a check. I was going to give it back. Were you? Margaret's voice was so quiet, it was almost a whisper. Were you going to give it back, David? Because you had 2 weeks. You had 14 days to tell us the truth. And you said nothing. David had no answer because there was no good answer. There was no answer that made this okay. And I think sitting at that table, even David knew it. Then Kelly spoke. Kelly, who was always the measured one, the calm one, Kelly said, Rachel, are you okay? And something about being asked that directly by someone in his family while sitting at his family's table. Something broke open a little. I nodded. I am, I said. The baby is fine. I'm okay. What do you need? She said. Right now? I said. Nothing. I just needed everyone to know the truth. She nodded. Can't. She reached across the table and put her hand over mine. That small gesture, I will never forget it. And David and I drove home in silence, a different silence from the morning. The morning silence had been mine, controlled, intentional. Kank. This silence belonged to both of us. Can't. He did not try to talk until we were inside with the door closed. Then he turned to me and said, Why did you do it that way? Not, I'm sorry. Not, you were right. Not, what I did was unforgivable. Why did you do it that way? And I looked at him. This man I had loved for 7 years. This man I had married. This man whose child I was carrying. And I said, because you left me no other choice, the next 2 weeks were, there is no other word for it. Devastating, David's family called him. Separately, each of them. I know because Margaret told me about her conversation. She called me 3 days later. Not David, me. And she talked for a long time. She told me she had asked him directly, why did you do it? And what he had eventually admitted after the panic explanations and the I don't know answers had been exhausted was something I had not expected. He said he had been feeling invisible, in that since the first miscarriage and then the second pregnancy, all the focus had been on me. My grief, my body, my appointments, my needs. And he felt, in his own words, like a supporting character in his own life. He said he wanted people to see that he was suffering too. He wanted attention. He wanted sympathy. Okay? He wanted to feel seen. Margaret relayed this to me and then went quiet for a moment. Yuck. Then she said, Rachel, I love my son. But what he did was wrong. And what he told you. I understand he's in pain, but you have been carrying a child and carrying grief and carrying this family's emotions. And he made himself the center of a loss that wasn't his to claim. That is not okay, Ken. I did not cry on that phone call, Ken. I had done most of my crying alone at night when David was asleep, and I could let myself feel the full weight of it. Thank you, Margaret, I said. Don't thank me, she said. Just take care of yourself. And that baby. Ken, the questions I was wrestling with were enormous. Do I stay? Do I leave? What does this mean about who he is? What does this mean about who we are? I want to be honest with you, because this story is not a simple revenge story. It was never just about exposing him, okay? It was about a marriage that had a crack in it that I had not seen before. And because here is the truth. The first miscarriage had been hard on David too. I knew that. I had always known that. But I had been so consumed by my own grief that I had not, perhaps, fully seen his. I am not saying that excuses what he did. It does not. Lying to his family, collecting money, letting his mother write a check for a loss that did not exist. There is no universe in which that is acceptable, but pain that is not addressed does not disappear. It transforms. And sometimes it transforms into something ugly. We went to therapy, David's suggestion, actually, which surprised me. The first session was awful, raw and uncomfortable and full of silences that hurt to sit in. But we went back, and we went back again, and slowly, things that had been buried began to surface. His fear during the first pregnancy, which he had never fully processed. His feeling of helplessness through the miscarriage. He had wanted to fix it, and could not, and had no language for that. His building sense of invisibility, which he had never told me because he was ashamed of it. And none of this made what he did. Okay, our therapist was very clear about that, and so was I. But it made it understandable. In that painful, complicated human way that real life is understandable. The family. Let me tell you what happened with each of them, because it matters. Margaret and Gerald, they insisted David return every dollar and every gift, every single one. David wrote checks. He made calls. He apologized in person, individually, to each person who had given. Margaret told me later that watching him make those calls was, in her words, the most uncomfortable and necessary thing he has ever done. She did not excuse what he did, but she did not abandon him either. She is his mother, and she is one of the wisest people I know. Brenda was angry for a long time. Of all the family members, she had been perhaps the most emotionally invested in that night. She had genuinely sobbed. She had organized things. She had told friends. She felt used. It took 3 months before she spoke to David normally again. But Brenda is also, at her core, someone who believes in repair. She got there. She told me privately, I'm not doing this for him. I'm doing this for you and the baby. Because you deserve a family around you right now. I loved her for that. And Tom pulled David aside at some point. I don't know exactly what was said between them. Men in this family do not always narrate their important conversations. But whatever Tom said, it landed. Kelly became one of my closest supports through the rest of the pregnancy. She had been through her own pregnancy complications, things she had never fully shared. Publicly. And she opened up to me in ways she never had before. Something unexpected grew. The extended family, the aunts and cousins, and family friends who had been in the room, word spread. Of course it did. Some people were horrified, some were confused, and this is the part of human nature that never stops surprising me. Some people took his side, not many, but some. There were whispered conversations about how I had humiliated him publicly, about how I could have handled it privately, about how airing family business at the dinner table was inappropriate. I had expected this. Hank, when you expose someone's lie in front of witnesses, some people will be more uncomfortable with the exposure than with the lie. It is not fair. It is just human. I made peace with it. And because the people whose opinions mattered were already in my corner, canged through all of it. The confrontation, the therapy, the family drama, the whispered conversations, the difficult nights. She was growing. Our daughter. We found out at 20 weeks that we were having a girl. I cried in the ultrasound room. In a way, I had not allowed myself to cry in a long time. Happy tears. Real ones. The kind that come from so deep inside they surprise you. David cried too. King. The tech smiled and gave us a moment. Ken. We named her Eleanor, after my grandmother, who had always told me to keep the good ones. The pregnancy was healthy, every appointment healthy, every scan healthy. She arrived on a Tuesday in March. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, dark hair, her father's eyes, my grandmother's stubborn little chin. Perfect. Margaret was in the waiting room. Gerald, Brenda, Tom, and Kelly. All of them. Enki. When I was finally ready for visitors, they came in one by one. Margaret picked up Eleanor and held her the way only grandmothers can, with that specific combination of total confidence and overwhelming love. She did not say anything for a long moment. Then she looked at me over Eleanor's head and said, "Thank you. Just that. Thank you." I knew what she meant. You want to know if we are okay. Yeah, I can feel that question coming through the screen. The honest answer is, we are better than we were. Not perfect, not unmarked by what happened, but better. David is in individual therapy still, separate from our couple sessions. He is working on things that are his to work on. He is doing it consistently and without being asked twice. There are days when I look at him and feel a flash of something, not quite anger, not quite sadness, something in between, a kind of grief for the version of him I thought I knew before that Sunday in the cereal aisle. He knows. I have told him. Our therapist has a name for it. She calls it trust recalibration, the slow, non-linear process of learning to trust someone differently than you trusted them before. Not less, differently. Eleanor is 8 months old now. Okay? She has learned to clap her hands, and she does it at random moments that make everyone around her laugh. And she does not know any of this story. She knows that her parents love her. She knows that when she cries, someone always comes. Sick? She knows that her grandmother Margaret sings to her in a voice that is not technically good, but is somehow exactly right. She knows that her Aunt Brenda makes her laugh harder than anyone else in the world. She knows that she is completely, overwhelmingly, without question, wanted. And maybe that is the thing I want to leave you with. Not the drama, not the dinner table, not the checks or the meal train or the moment his face went the color of old paper. But this, she was wanted before she was born. She is wanted now. And whatever her father did in those 8 weeks before she arrived, she will never have to carry that. That is mine, and I have decided I can carry it. And if you stayed with me for this entire story, thank you. I know it was long. I know it was complicated. I know it did not end the way some of you wanted it to end. Real life rarely does, but I hope somewhere in this story, you found something that felt true. Maybe you have been the person who was lied to. Maybe you have been the person who felt invisible. And maybe you have been the one sitting at that dinner table on any side of it. And wherever you are in your own story, I hope you find your Eleanor, your reason to carry it. Like this video if it meant something to you. Subscribe for a new story every week and leave me a comment. I read every single one. See you next time.